Catch Me If You Claus is a Christmas film from 2023. This is directed by Bradley Walsh, written by Nina Weinman, and it stars Italia Ricci as Avery and Luke Macfarlane as Chris. Everything about it works apart from the narrative. I just found it to be tremendously dull. The concept is interesting enough. Avery happens to meet Chris, who she thinks is breaking into her house, but Chris claims to be Santa Claus's son. And he's claiming that he's delivering the presents. And Avery obviously doesn't believe him, because why would she? But then they end up having to work together. And I won't say any more than that. Well, I'll say they are chasing after criminal activity. Avery really wants to advance her career as a news anchor, and she feels like this is the perfect opportunity. But obviously she's still not completely believing Chris either. Is Chris who he says he is? I won't give that away. On paper, it sounds really fascinating. It sounds like it could be a really interesting story, but I just found the specifics of the actual narrative to be really dull. Not necessarily badly written, and by that I mean I believe the characters' actions, the situations make sense, we go from one scene to the next in a way that's very believable. It never felt forced. It's just not interesting. I just didn't think the story itself was very fascinating at all, which is a shame because, as I said, it does sound like a really interesting concept. Everything else works very well, though. It's quite festive. I really liked the protagonists, particularly Chris. I thought from the very beginning he was a very likeable character. On screen, they work very well together. So there are some good aspects to the film. And as I said, it's not necessarily a bad narrative. It's just not interesting either. So I don't really know if I recommend it. I feel like with this kind of story, it needs to be interesting. And by that I mean there are plenty of Christmas films where the narrative can be dull, but the film can still be enjoyable because it can be heartwarming and fuzzy and festive and can still get you in the festive spirit. Because this one's got a grittier narrative, the narrative is absolutely at the forefront. And it's not that interesting. So I don't know if there's anything about this that's drawing you to it, whether it is the narrative or the cast, then sure, check it out. You might enjoy certain parts of it. For me, I didn't think it was that interesting, but if you watch it and you like it, I understand. Chris is definitely an interesting character, but other than that, I thought it was probably a pretty average film. Decent performances, quite festive, but not the best narrative.